start?
everyone. I'm super happy to welcome everyone today, dedicated to the 8th of March. My name is Galina Derkaj, and today we have a very special guest, Tim Lowenhaupt. You know, for this specific day, I wanted to do something very, very special. And wanted to make it very beautiful with the festive spirits, but in the same time, very profound. It's a special meeting that the profoundness of this meeting will touch the heart of everyone. And because today is Women's Day, it's a celebration of each woman. And I thought about inviting a very special man, a hero man, superhero who saves the world. And today we have a very special, unordinary man, a very unique person who gives us this knowledgeable teachings and does everything possible and impossible to spread the knowledge, this ancient wisdom. Today it's a director of ACI in American office who last year visited Moscow and was teaching a wonderful ACI course. And some people were super lucky to attend his yoga class. A person who is very close to a very dear teacher, Geshe Michael Roach, and we are super excited and applaud today to Tim. Good day, Tim. I'm super happy to see you.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction.
We're very grateful today that you are with us in this interview. Many people know you from Medicine Buddha Retreat and from ACI courses. And we are extremely grateful for everything you do, for spreading the knowledge that helps people become happier.
Расскажите, пожалуйста, как древняя мудрость вошла в вашу жизнь? Когда и где впервые?
Could you please tell us how did the ancient wisdom came to your life, and where and when did you hear first about Pan? What was your life before the wisdom, and what did you do before, and where did you work?
Oh, it's hard to separate, you know, what life was like before and what it was after. But I was working in corporate America, basically what we call it. And I was working in pharmaceutical marketing, and I was also working in tech development, as well as, you know, product development and making apps and websites and things like that. And I also had this deep spiritual yearning. Like I was like, okay, this is great. I can do this. You know, I can do it well. No problem. And I was enjoying a lot of, you know, professional success. You know, I made a bunch of mistakes too, of course. But things were going really well. But I also had this deep yearning inside for something different. And I was searching, you know, I was doing lots of different searching. I know I studied, I don't know if you have this in Russia, it's called Reiki. It's like it's a hands-on treatment, right? I actually was studying Zen Buddhism. I was looking for all different kinds of answers basically. And each path that I came across had an answer, and it was very important in my own development. And then in one of the classes I was taking, someone handed me the Diamond Cutter book and said, Tim, you would like this book. And it was all, I mean, it was Geshe Michael's book. And since I was running my own business and I had a weird seed open, I wouldn't have used that language then, but a weird seed open. And I said, there's something cool here. And it was really in that book was the first time I heard about, I mean, he doesn't talk about the pen directly in that book, but there are moments where I learned about what it means to plant a seed and where things come from. And that really, really excited me. I was like, this is the thing I need to follow. And that was, so really for me, it wasn't a clear-cut transition of before and after. It's always been something that's been part of me. And that yearning, that desire, that search was always there for me, whether I was officially in a spiritual group or I wasn't. I know it was always there.
Какие у вас были первые ощущения, когда вы поняли, что мир происходит?
What were your first feelings when you realized that the world comes from us? Did you believe right away that the world comes from us and that you can create anything you want?
Cool. I always, there was something that, I remember being a kid and there was these things that would happen where, people make, so for example, like if someone says, oh, there's this new really popular yellow car that everyone has. And I'm like, no, there isn't. I've never seen this car before, right? And then because somebody said it to me, all of a sudden I started seeing this yellow car everywhere. I didn't see it before. But when they told me about it and my eyes were opened, I was like, oh, yeah, there's that car, right? And there was always something curious in my mind about that. Like, I never saw it before. So I always asked the question, was it there even if I wasn't seeing it, right? Did it exist, right? Before I saw it or before somebody pointed it at me. And we have these things that we learn growing up, like, oh, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody is there to hear it, does it make a sound, right? And I always thought, well, that's a stupid question. If no one's there to see the tree fall, did the tree fall? Right? And so there was this thing that I was like, something's not right. And once you study ACI a lot, like the teachers will take you to this point where they'll get you to believe one thing, and then they make you understand that what you're believing may not be true. And it kind of makes your mind go, it's like you're squeezing your head and you're like, oh, this can't be right. So there's something weird going on. And I always thought that there was something weird going on. And when I came to understand and learned about seeds and, the pen could be, a pen could be, for me, a pen, but could be something else for someone else. I always thought about that. Like, this isn't, simply for a human, sure, it's a pen, it's a pencil, but it's, a pen, but it also could be a weapon, right? And it's like, well, is it a pencil or is it a weapon, right? And it's that thing that's like, something's not right. And so when someone told me about it, that hey, there's something coming from me that makes it a pencil. There's something coming from me that makes yellow cars. There's something from me that makes a tree fall, right? For me, it wasn't hard to believe, but now say, but part of the practice is about like, what parts do you think aren't coming from you, right? What things can you go, okay, yeah, that's mine. But then the things that you're saying, that's not possibly me. And that's the part of the practice that gets very interesting.
А вы помните свой первый
Do
результат?
you remember your first results from applying ancient wisdom? What was it? And how long did it take it from the beginning to the end to get the result?
All right. This is a fun question because, in different presentations, we kind of give an idea of like, well, if you do this, you'll see a result in maybe 6 months or 3 months or next week, or maybe your whole lifetime. But there's something that does happen when you start this process, right? You learn about it and then go, all right, well, I need to try this out, because if it doesn't, if I can't prove it to myself, and that's what that's what the ancient texts say, is like, don't believe what I have to say. Work the logic out for yourself. And then that creates a belief, and then when you move it into direct experience, that's what creates belief. It's not belief based on what somebody told you, right? Just because the book told me this is the truth, is it the truth? Just because my parents told me it's the truth, is it the truth? And that becomes, that's the basis of most fights between children and their parents, right? That's not true. That's not how life is, right? But, so what were the first things? I actually applied it often at work, because I had gotten the book, I started studying, and I applied it in my management. And like, there's the example of, don't talk, do you talk to someone or don't talk to someone? Like, if someone's being a jerk at the office, do you talk to them and tell them to stop being a jerk? Or do you not talk with them? Because if you don't talk with them, they'll just stop it and ignore you, right? They'll just go away. And in this system, we say that's not the right question. The right question is, what seed are you planting? And so I use this in the office, and being a project manager, where I was in charge of teams of upwards of like 150 people. If those people don't get along and they don't get their job done, it affects the whole health of the business. So a lot of what I did was, all right, so this person is being a jerk, right? This person, I don't like how they're behaving. So what I started doing was, instead of telling them they're a jerk, and instead of like, going home and crying about it or complaining about it to my partner or calling my friends, all I did is that, all right, I look at myself, and this is what this does. You go back into yourself and you say, all right, in what ways am I like that jerk? In what ways am I selfish? In what ways do I behave just like that, but maybe in a small way? And that's a hard thing to do, because you know what? I'm pretty damn awesome. People like me, right? They don't like that person, right? Tasha's laughing, right? And so like the ego gets in the way and says, well, I'm not like that. But what this system teaches you is that, yes, you are. It's a reflection of you, maybe a past you, but it's still part of you. So stop that behavior. And when I really looked at myself, I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm awesome, but inside, in my heart and my mind, I'm not that nice. I'm kind of not. So what I found was, by putting this into practice at the office that I was changing the dynamic of the office. I was changing these people, right? So one of three things happened. Either the person I didn't like or was being a jerk either changed and started being nice. They quit. They were like, I don't want this job anymore. They'd leave. Well, they get transferred to another division. So I didn't have to, I was like, yeah, bye, have a night, good luck, right? Or somebody else would fire them. That was 4 options. You know, so it got me really excited that the division that I was working in, we were really, really successful. We got along very, very well. And people, you know, I really paid attention to, because I got to manage their time, their life, you know, how much work they had. And then overall, like we worked on our overall happiness. And I saw that, and that was like, yes, there's something in here. And I started then taking it into a deeper level right before I actually met Geshe Michael.
Спасибо огромное, действительно очень
Thank you
мудро.
so much. Truly, truly very deep, profound wisdom. Could you let us know, how did you meet Geshe Michael Roach, and how did you manage to become part of the ACI family, and what prompted you to start teaching?
So I don't like to talk about mystical experiences too much, but I'm going to for a second. One day I was just minding my own business, and I would say a seed opened in my mind, but it felt very much like all of a sudden I heard in my head, go meet Geshe Michael Roach. And I was like, what? you know, I had never, and I was like, oh, whatever. But then it just kept, it was like, no, you have to meet this person. Got to go meet this person. You have to. And I never knew who this person was. I had a book. It was falling apart. I spilled my coffee on it. You know, all the pages were ripped because I carried it with me everywhere. And I was like, all right, I've never wanted to meet an author, like an author. That's what in my mind, an author. Never wanted to meet an author. So I went online. This is 2009, 2010. And I was like, Geshe Michael Roach, right? And surprise, there was an event that he was doing, the Diamond Cutter Institute Level 1, in a city about 6 hours from my home. And it was a business retreat. And I'm like, okay, you know, got out the credit card. And I just said, I'm going. And I just went and didn't even think about it and just went. You know, and I mean, I think it's a power of seeds, and it's the power of when you've met someone that is your teacher, something weird happens, you know, and not saying that Geshe Michael is your teacher or, you know, any of those things, or anyone, you know, that teaches you ACI has to be your teacher, right? But there's a thing that happens when you meet somebody who's very aligned with you and then can speak your language. And I went into this event and I just was like, I'm home. You know, it's like something happened that I said, this is what I've been looking for. This is what I wanted. You know, and then I met people who were living in my town who I didn't even know, who studied with the whole Geshe Michael organization. And I started going to their events, and I did a yoga teacher training. I did some ACI courses. I went to the very first Lam Rim 1, which was 2010. You know, we're doing Lam Rim 37 in April. So figure that out, right? And, you know, to answer the question about why did I become a teacher? I think it's a natural thing that starts happening, right? Like, and a teacher can be in different forms, right? Yeah, you can, do this traditional class, or, you can share something with a friend at the cafe, which our favorite cafe is right there. It's 15-second walk, right? And really, like, because you've seen how it works for you and how it helps you, there's this natural, well, hopefully natural thing that happens, that you want to help other people. And you're like, look, this worked for me. And, and the thing is, you don't have to, advertise and be like, oh, big picture of Tim's going to teach you the secret to the universe, right? And come learn, that's not how teaching works. Teaching works like, because you've put it into practice and you do it yourself, people just ask you. They're like, I remember my neighbor 3 years ago. He's actually, I rent to him. He's one of my tenants. I have a small apartment building. And he said, can I ask you a question? And I thought he was asking me to like delay paying rent, or, something like that, right? And I'm like preparing how I'm going to answer this. And he says, how did you become so successful? And I was like, are you talking to me? What are you talking about? Right. And he said, look, I guess this is a couple years ago. He's like, look, you're almost 40 years old. You have a house, you have a nice car, you have a great job. Like, you have these things. How did you do this? And I was like, huh. I was an example for him. He just wanted to know how I did it. Right. And, I handed him the diamond cutter book, and I don't know, I'm not sure how much he's done with it, but, that was you become that, like, you become an example. And then people say, well, how did you do that? And you say, well, I learned this thing about the pen, and, I started practicing. I did some meditations, and do you want to learn a little bit? Like, let's go meditate together. And so you don't turn into a preacher on the television, right? You might be invited to a television show and offered that, right? But you don't like call up all the television stations and say, hey, I got this message, listen to me, right? It's different, right? So that's really how I became a teacher. It was more like people asked me. Like, they asked me to teach. It wasn't like I sought it out. And in fact, I've avoided it because sometimes I don't feel like I know enough to teach. And after a while, they ask you enough times, you go, okay, fine. Okay, all right. I'll teach you something that I've learned, but and maybe it'll help you. But it's because people ask, because you become that living example. Or try to be anyway.
Спасибо, чудесно, действительно.
Thank you so much. It's an incredible story. And this ACI knowledge practices, vows, retreats, they greatly changed our life, our inside and outside world. And sometimes it brings such fantastic results and it turns your life. And we sit and surprise ourselves. So could you let us know what happened in your life that you would never thought that could possibly happen in your life?
I mean, I would say that the fact that I'm sitting here in Sedona, Arizona, is probably the biggest surprise of my life, frankly. If you told me I was going to move to a small town in the United States willingly, without somebody like putting shackles on and dragging me, I would have told you 10 years ago, Nikita, it'd be nice when you translate this. I would have told them, go to hell. whatever you figured that one out, Nikita. I would have said, you're bananas. You've lost your marbles. You're, right? But frankly, like, I live in a small town. Like, there's the average age in this town is 55. Okay, average. All right. Everything closes at like 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Like, there's nobody in my demographic mainly here, right? But what's happened, I moved here 3 years ago. I was offered the job to be the director of ACI. And if you told me what my life would be like now, I would have told you again that you're bananas. That's bananas. Do you know that expression, Nikita? Bananas, right? And, I got a job, which is part of our organization. I manage 2 hotels, 2 office buildings. We're opening up an exclusive high-end medical clinic, naturopathic functional medicine that's brand new, starting in like 3 months. If you told me 3 years ago you're going to be doing this, Tim, because you moved to Sedona to be a director of ACI, I would have been like, right, whatever. But like, the other surprising thing about it is, my life's not perfect. There's still things that I would like. I still would like a lot of things I haven't figured out. I haven't figured out the seeds for. I know what the seeds are. I've read Karma of Love. I know what the seeds are, but I haven't quite figured it out yet. But I'm pretty happy. I don't think I would have been this joyful, this relaxed. Financially, I'm fine. I'm healthy. My body's all right. Actually, I feel younger than I did 5 years ago. Although my ACI team makes fun of me and tells me I'm old, but they can, whatever. That's their karma to like have to suffer the results of saying stuff like that to me. But, I think in a lot of ways, my happiness, I don't think I could have imagined the joy that I take in what I do 10 years ago. I did work because I had to do it. I did things because I had to make money. I had to support my life and all this other stuff. But now I don't have those stresses, because what I have is I have a belief, and I've had experiences and direct confirmation of how things work. And it's not perfect yet, of course, but I don't really get stressed out anymore. Like, I'm relaxed. I'm like, we have big events, and I go off hiking in the beautiful red rocks of Sedona, which is one of the most beautiful places on earth. Surprise. Like, oh, weird. You live in one of the most beautiful places where the weather is nearly perfect. I mean, I wish I had an ocean, but sand, but we can worry about that, Carmen, later. But it's one of the most beautiful places on earth, and it's safe. Don't have to worry about stuff here. There aren't a lot of wild animals. There's hardly any crime. I don't lock my doors. I'd say, surprisingly, like, it's the simple things that are surprising, right? And it's the simple practices that make things surprising too.
Вы знаете, у нас не очень обычный сегодня.
Today is a very unusual interview, because today is a very unusual day. It's March 8th in Russia. It's a special day. It's a Women's Day. It's a day when women are honored, given gifts and flowers, and everyone show their love to them. Geshe Michael wrote in his book, Karma of Love, that a woman should be like a fragrant flower. And what is an ideal partner for you? What do you think this partner, what quality this partner should possess, and what this partner should look like?
getting personal, aren't we?
Sorry.
So one of the most beautiful things about ACI, and as you progress in your studies and you get deeper into the teachings, is that you begin to learn about how deeply Buddhism and the practices respect women and honor women. You know, there's so much, you know, we live in a culture, in a world where there's so much discrimination. There's so many issues between men and women and gender roles and equality. You know, and even culturally, like, you know, where a lot of the original ancient texts were written, there was a lot of gender bias in them, in the, you know, some of those texts. Some seemed like it, you know, but as you study more and more, you recognize that there's a deep, deep honoring and respect for women that, you know, that's extremely, extremely beautiful. And one of my deepest wishes is that we can live in a world that we can plant the seeds to see that everywhere. So when you ask the question, like, what does my ideal partner look like? You know, that's a really hard question. Like, do I want that person to look a certain way? Do I want them to smell a certain way? Right? Like a fragrant flower, for example. Do I want them to behave a certain way? And there's certain things around that I think are very, very important, right? But there's also these other things of like, why do you want a partner in the first place? Like, why do you want someone, a companion, someone to share your life with? Like what will they, how, like, what is their role for you? Like, how do they integrate into your life? How do you integrate into their life? What do you share together? How do you grow together? How do you learn together? What do they do for you? You know, and I don't mean what do they do for you? Like, do they do the dishes, or do they cook, or do they, like, you know, mow the lawn and, you know, take care of, like, they go to work, or they take care of the kids, or, you know, I'm not talking about those kind of roles. You know, that's the business of a relationship, right? Who cleans dishes, who cooks, who takes care of the kids, who makes the money, you know, all those things are like transactional, maybe. But, you know, why would you want somebody, you know, what could they do for you? Like, not just like do as in like they do the dishes or they do my laundry, right? By the way, I'm planting seeds so I don't have to do my laundry. But that's not the point. It's like, you know, in our practice, like, this person can become the person that can take you to the highest goals. Why? Because this person knows you the best, and this person can get under your skin, right? Get into, like, you know, under your skin, right? And start poking you and like, oh, that's an annoying thing you do, Tim. I'm not annoying. Yes, you are. You're not. I'm not annoying. Yes, you are. How many fights have you had with a partner? Like, no, I'm cool. No, you're a jerk. I'm cool. You're a jerk. You know, and eventually you either have to listen to them, or, you know, or have an unhappy relationship, right? But so my question really is, you know, like, I think it's the wrong, like, for me to say, well, what does my ideal partner look like? That for me is seeds. Like, okay, you know, but the problem is that we don't know what we want and what we need. You know, so what I suggest is, I'm going to flip the question around and ask all of you listening, what does your ideal partner look like? Like, why do you want a companion? Why do you want someone to be with you? What, how will they fill you with love? How will they enhance your life? How will you enhance their life? What kind of seeds can you plant together? Can you imagine having someone in your life that you wake up with every single morning, and the first thought that you have together is, what are we going to do to take care of people today? What are we going to do together today to make the world a better place? So the idea of like, what does my partner look like? What do they smell like? What do they do? Like, those are all really great qualities. And yes, I have an idea in mind of what that is. But what I want is something deeper than that. I want someone that I can share love with, someone who I can enjoy life with, that each day I wake up and I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I enjoy them being there. They enjoy me. We grow together. We support each other. We help each other. And more importantly, then we have this vision of what we're going to do today together to plant the highest seeds, to maybe eradicate some of the worst problems in the world. So for me, is like, those are really the more important. That's, for me, is real intimacy. Like, me so well, I know you so well. That we can do this together, and we're choosing to do it together. And our love is not just for the two of us. Our love is bigger than ourselves. So I successfully avoided your question, but that's how I'm choosing to answer it.
Такие глубокие, трепетные слова, честно
Such
говоря.
deep and special and very incredible words. Like, I have goosebumps on my body right now. And I have one more question. In Asia and Russian-speaking space, there are like hundreds of women from different cities and countries. On this special day, on Women's Day, you have a unique opportunity to congratulate them all, and perhaps you have some suggestions and something you would like to wish them, and perhaps you give an advice on how to come to absolute happiness.
So first of all, I thank you for the opportunity today to share something, something about myself. And I think one of the most, like, if I'm looking for secret messages in the world, like, the first thing that I would look at is like, how you, Galina, how are you taking care of other people and making other people feel comfortable? I would say thank you, for, setting this up, making this available to all women in Russia. I would also say, thank you for, giving me the opportunity to think about some of these questions beforehand. You made me feel very comfortable and welcome. I don't know if you did it on purpose, but I'm going to see it as on purpose. But you have a lion in the background, and my last name in German in part means lion, right? So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, so I felt comfortable, right? Subtle things that help people feel more comfortable, feel more loved, feel more welcome. I think those are the most beautiful traits that anyone can have. And it's one of the most amazing traits that I really appreciate about women in general, is that the thought that goes into, like, the subtlety that goes into caring for other people, you know, it's not always obvious, right? You know, there's a lot of work that goes into making someone comfortable and relaxed, you know, and being able to do that and being able to share that with others, and also understand, when you understand the seeds behind that, you know, that's one of the most beautiful things that I honor about women, is that more natural capacity to do that. You know, you don't have to like struggle, you know. I think, you know, with risking being too general, you know, I don't want to speak for all people, but, you know, I think in general, men struggle a little bit more with that. And, you know, women are a great living example, like I said before, are a great living example of how to be compassionate, and how to have an open heart, and how to be accepting of others and their differences, accepting of people as humans as they are, and not trying to change them. Like, I'm here for you. I'm holding that space for you. You know, so for me, I celebrate you. I celebrate all of you for, you know, for holding that space for us, for the whole world, right? You know, you're not doing it just for men, you're doing it for all people, right? So I thank you very much. Yeah, just thank you.
Тим, спасибо огромное.
Thank you so much. You said that your last name is translated from German. It's translated as lion. For some miracle, I have a picture behind of lion, and it's truly something magical. And from the bottom of my heart, from my soul, I thank you so much that you share with us your wisdom, your happiness, and that touched my heart. For sure, my heart was touched, and I hope for everyone else who listened. And I thank you again, because you're such a incredible and huge living example to all of us, for everything you do to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed doing this today, and look forward to when we all can meet again in person, when we can travel. And I promise I'll get my hair cut. This is my COVID hair.
It suits you very well.
The last time I got my hair cut was right before I went to Moscow last year. So hopefully sometime soon, you know, we'll all be able to be together again in person and connect with each other. And, you know, thank you very much for this opportunity today.
Спасибо огромное.
Thank you so much. Your hair is great. You're true lion. Thank you to everyone who is watching our interview. We'll see you in the new interviews. And today was Tim and Galina Derkash. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.